So what is advocacy? Advocacy is the strategic use of information and action to shape opinions, policies, and practices that affect lives. I think advocacy really is it's a frame of mind where someone sees and responds to everyday situations in their work and lives and sees potential for opportunity for influencing change. And it's really about being intolerant to the undesirable status quo and using every opportunity to instigate change. Advocacy is really an extension of our strong beliefs, and advocacy is about giving voice to our passion. And advocacy can actually be undertaken for various, in different settings. The first setting is advocacy from a clinical perspective within a practice or facility. We also have advocacy with colleagues, professional associations, and health systems. We have advocacy in personal and community settings. We have advocacy within the media, which is what most people associate advocacy with. And advocacy with policymakers, which is also another area that people associate advocacy with. I want to particularly focus on why providers really are the best advocates. The reason is they bring in credibility, they have first-hand experience, they appear to be objective, though we are not always objective. They bring in significant social capital. They have a unique position between women and policymakers. And most health workers have a certain prestige and status in society. I think we all agree. To be an effective advocate, providers need to have clarified values and a positive attitude, especially when it comes to sexual and reproductive health and rights for women. They must have the advocacy perspective that I spoke about at the various levels. They must have an understanding of the different types and levels of advocacy. They must have current data and information. They must have effective communication skills. They must be able to put across their messages. They must be able to package the message in a way that is understandable, because often you're speaking to politicians. They must be assertive, and they must be persuasive as well. They must be able to analyze the power relationships where they're trying to advocate. And definitely, they must be willing to network and look at how they can ensure power is shared. So an advocate plays three particular roles. The first one is educator, witness, and persuader. And each role is important in ensuring successful advocacy efforts. Some advocates are really good in all three roles, some two, and some one. So what is the expert? This is the one we're used to. This is the expert who has knowledge from education, training, and experience. Identifies information that is important. The expert identifies information that is important to the effort, communicates it clearly in understandable language, and facilitates discussion around the topic. Then we have the witness advocate, which also tends to be very, very powerful, that comes from first-hand experience representing women, their real health concerns, specific conditions, and their struggles. Stories are very important in the witness advocacy perspective. And we use them in public forums to evoke a sense of compassion and build solidarity to make our case. We also have the persuader advocate. This is when we look at a specific single issue. I think yesterday I had an opportunity to listen to Dr. Givinji Kitahi. That is one person who, to me, is a mentor of mine, who's a very good persuader advocate. He has one issue, he draws on current evidence, brings together a network, and makes written recommendations. I think that's a good example of a persuader advocate. So let's look at power. I think advocacy is really around power. So there are diverse sources and expressions of power, both positive and negative. We have power over, power with, power to, and what I call power within. So power over is really around win-lose relationships. It's about taking power from others. Those who control resources and decision-making tend to have power over those that don't. And it's usually associated with repression, coercion, often corruption and abuse. And it perpetuates inequality and poverty. And due to lack of alternative models, it tends to perpetuate itself. And sadly, often, the people who are often oppressed end up imitating the oppressor later. Whereas power with is more collaborative. It's a way of exercising and using power. It's about creating more equitable relationships and provides the basic principle for empowerment strategies for advocacy. Power with is about finding common ground amongst different interests to transform conflict and promote equitable relations. It's about building collective strength. Building on multiple talents. It's based on mutual support and solidarity and collaboration. And most successful advocacy groups use power with approaches to form alliances and build coalitions. So every individual, advocacy really should be linked to allowing every individual who has unique potential to develop the power to shape her own life. And each individual should have the power to make a difference. And this is done through citizen education, leadership development, and power within really speaks to agency, which is the ability to act, and a person's sense of self-worth and self-knowledge. An ability to recognize that we are different, but affirming that these differences should not be a reason for us not to respect dignity and fulfillment. And I think a key aspect is how the stories we tell and the reflections, the dialogue, help people affirm personal worth and recognize their power. So power really is important when we speak about advocacy. And most women are powerless because of lack of information, violence, low socioeconomic status, inequitable wages, lack of representation in government and policy-making bodies, and inadequate resources for women. Now, I think this whole conversation for me is important because I'm bringing it from the perspective of access for women to safe abortion. And I think we have currently worldwide 22 million unsafe abortions worldwide, and IPAS Africa Alliance is committed to ensuring zero unsafe abortions. So our work around advocacy broadly builds around all those specific principles and partnerships. I'd like to acknowledge GPHN, Claire, for her. Claire is a real advocate. I must really say that. She's a wonderful advocate. She used all the persuasive and all the skills I used here to actually support this conference. My IPAS Africa colleagues and Ministry of Health Kenya and Reproductive Health Maternal Services Unit, that we work together to address sexual reproductive health and rights for women broadly, and in particular trying to ensure that we have zero deaths from unsafe abortion. Thank you very much.